Here with Sabs
Check, check.
for
check.
his Top Gun, your best Top Gun yet.
This is my best Top Gun yet.
I mean, you got a great crew going on here.
We do. We're excited about him.
Yep.
2025, best year yet, baby.
Best year yet. The topic today is longevity. So I always like a nice runway when I have a topic to really marinate on, what am I going to talk about exactly? So the subject is longevity, and the first thing that came to mind was load management. Right? Load management. Get a couple chuckles right off the bat. So I was just curious. So hey, ChatGPT, who started load management anyway? Anybody want to take a guess who popularized this? It was Greg Popovich, popularized it. It was around before him, but that's the first time I remember was like, Kawhi, load management? And so I'm a recent victim of load management. So I flew to Houston early for Keys to Success. And so I went to Dean Habib's place. And so, Dean was a newlywed, got married to Victoria. They have a beautiful baby. So I crashed at their house. I get to Houston and Dean says, hey, Jamie, one of my childhood dreams, we're going to go see Messi play. I'm like, oh, I've never been to a professional soccer game. But he's like, dude, love Messi. I got us great seats. We're going to the game. And so we're going to the game and there's pink jerseys everywhere. Okay, so obviously, I don't even know Houston's team name, but I didn't see a lot of Houston jerseys. I just saw a lot of Messi jerseys, and we got notification from ESPN that Messi is sitting out due to load management. And he's not even traveling with the team, so I was kind of hopeful, like, well, maybe he's just saying that, and then he's going to show up, and we're going to get to see Messi. Like, no, he's not traveling with the team. We're not going to be able to watch him on the bench, interact with the players, load management. And so to make it up to the fans, and I don't even know if this is the right way to make it up, they gave them all, hey, you guys can all get free tickets to an up-and-coming game. So people were a little disgruntled. That wasn't good enough. I think they wanted, we want Messi to come out of the tunnel. That's really what we want. And so Kobe, I'm a huge Lakers fan. I know there's a few of you Lakers fans in this crowd. And so Kobe was asked years ago about load management. And here's Kobe, quote, unquote, what the hell is that? I don't know what that is. That's crazy. His wife, Vanessa, she had a front row seat of watching Kobe injured all the time and play through crazy injuries and take ice baths and everything like that. And she asked him, she goes, Kobe, can't you sit out just one game? Like, she sees the pain he's in. Can't you sit out one game? And he says, well, what about the fans, especially those in the nosebleeds that have been saving up to watch me play just once? And so Vanessa has always said that Kobe never forgot about his fans, and probably one of the reasons we all love Kobe Bryant, even if you're not a Lakers fan. I was also thinking of Larry Bird, so I'm throwing lots of basketball stuff at you guys. So, I grew up watching the Birdman. And so Larry Bird, early in his career, was guilty of diving for loose balls when the Celtics were already up 20 points, 30 points. And so he was given some advice early in his career. Says, if you want to extend your career in the NBA, you need to pick and choose when you go all in. You can't be all in all the time. Of which Bird thought about that, and his response was, I only know how to play basketball one way. Like, he didn't understand that concept. I only know how to play one way. Now, he probably shortened his career. He only played 13 seasons in the NBA. He didn't play 20 like Kobe did, or LeBron's on year 22. He only played 13. But he was a 12-time NBA All-Star out of 13 seasons in the NBA. He's a 3-time champion and a 3-time MVP. So my question for you is, what's more important, running fast or running long? Yeah, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. It's not sucker's choice between running fast or running long. It's both. And the example I'd like to give you with that, I think everybody here knows the Roger Bannister story, right? Everybody knows. If you don't know Roger Bannister, you just Google him. He was the first guy in 1954 to break the 4-minute mile. Before he broke the 4-minute mile, all the smart doctors and scientists, they all said it's impossible for the human body to run a mile in 4 minutes or under 4 minutes. Your heart will explode. So nobody ran a mile in under 4 minutes. He broke the 4-minute barrier, and then that year, 50 people broke the 4-minute mile. So he was the one that shattered the limiting beliefs. It's a great morning meeting to talk about Roger Bannister and who's going to be the white rabbit to kind of, get the ball rolling here. So that's Roger Bannister. But have you heard of Kelvin Keptum? Does that name ring a bell? Kelvin Keptum from Kenya. There's a tongue twister. So he recently broke the marathon record in Chicago in 2023. And he ran the marathon in 2 hours and 35 seconds. So that pace, now somebody soon will break the 2-hour barrier, right? Somebody's going to run it in, an hour, 59 minutes and some odd seconds. Like, somebody's trying to break the 2-hour barrier. But he's running at a pace of 4 minutes and 36 seconds. Now, if I asked all of us let's go out to the parking lot. There's 200 of us in this room. And I want to know who's the fastest here. Who can run the fastest mile? I see some hands already going up. The reality is none of us in this room could run a mile in 4 minutes and 36 seconds. Take me up on the challenge. You can't do it. I can't do it. So that's what running fast and running long looks like. So I have 5 tips for you guys here today on running long and running fast. So tip number 1 is the tragedy of not playing like Bird, or the tragedy of not giving it 100%. It's a tragedy. There's 2 thoughts that come to mind when it comes to like tragedy. That's such a strong word, isn't it, Jamie? I'm like, well, you potentially are going to cement mediocre habits. Cement. Not really knowing what giving it 100% really looks like. And you might find yourself ill-prepared when it's time to give 100% to something because you only really know, your body only really knows what 70% looks like. So a couple popular quotes in my household that I tell my kids, like we have our family values, it's life, L-I-F-E, leadership, integrity, faith, and excellence. And so sometimes when I see the kitchen's just not done up to par, to the tune of excellence, I say to the kids, I'm like, a couple things come to mind. I'm like, if you don't have time to do things right, when are you going to have time to do things again? It's a popular saying that comes up that my kids are, yeah, that's true. Like if it's all about speed, if you just want to get it done quickly so you can get on to video games or whatever you want to do, like just do it with excellence. Because if you don't have time to do it right, when will you have time to do it twice? Like that just doesn't make much sense. The other part I say is like, yeah, maybe the standard of excellence is just too high. Maybe I'm expecting too much from you guys. Maybe I'm expecting too much from myself. Maybe we should change the values to LIFM. Doesn't sound as good as life, leadership, integrity, faith, and mediocrity. We can change it to LIFM. No, Dad, is usually what I'm met with. Like, no, Dad. The other piece I think of with the tragedy of not playing like Bird is you create irrational expectations. Irrational. Too many reps and owners I've heard over the years say, I've been here for X amount of time, just fill in the blank with X. I'm not succeeding. I guess the business just isn't for me. Of which usually I'll ask, depending on the person I'm watching, I'm like, well, have you really given it 100%? And when they stop and think, I'm like, have you really given it like you're all, like you're just squeezing everything you got? Usually with proper reflection, I'm met with no. And so the analogy I like using, and it's a little old school because of inflation, but I'll use getting a Coke out of a Coke machine. I'm like, if you put 99 cents into a Coke machine, what happens? Well, you don't get the Coca-Cola until you put in the full dollar. You got to put in a buck. I'm like, it's irrational to kick the Coke machine and say, well, it's good enough, man. I give you 99 cents. Like, that's got to be good enough. Like, it's just irrational to think that you're going to get anything out of that Coke machine unless you put in at least $1. Sometimes I might swallow a quarter from you and you got to put in more than $1, but you got to put in at least $1. Why would you expect a positive result on anything less than 100%? So in my personal life, I expect 0 results on anything less than 100%. So the tragedy of not playing like Bird. That's number one. Number two, well, you've heard of what's your why, right? We've all used that. What's your why? Big Y equals big try, right? Like, what's your why? It's a common popular question. Well, another way to look at it, so point number two is, who's your who? So who are you serving? If it's all about you, you might entertain load management if it's all about you. It's the unholy trinity of me, myself, and I. So you'll hear a lot of me in your language. I need a break. I need time to myself. I need a vacation. If it's about others, like Kobe, you'll dig deep and you'll find the energy and you'll show up. So a popular book in my house for my kids, Digger Dan. Okay, little Digger Dan. This was a childhood book for me. My grandpa must have read me this book 100 to 200 times. I just couldn't get enough of it. So I just want to read just a quick piece of Digger Dan for you guys to emphasize this point. Digger Dan. I won't work today, hissed Digger Dan. You never want to work first thing in the morning, said Stan the steam shovel man. But there's a job to be done. A school must be built on this very spot. We must dig out a basement. We must dig out a whole lot. So he starts off with an angry, unmotivated face like, we all have. And as he thought about it, look at that big smile on his face there, Digger Dan. He says, aha, buzzed the big digger. A school for boys and girls. The more he thought about that school, the more he felt like working. I'll dig a deep, wide hole in the earth. I'll dig for all I'm worth. So Stan, the steam shovel man, reminded Digger Dan of who. So who is your who? Is it your guys? Is it your future spouse? Is it your future children? But clearly identify your who. Who's your who? It's another way of looking at, what's your why. But know who you're serving. Kobe was serving the kids in the nosebleeds because he was the kid in the nosebleeds that went to watch Michael Jordan play with his dad. So he knew who he was serving. It was those kids in the nosebleeds. All right, number three. Identify the energy sucks. The things that deflate you. The things that suck the energy out of you, or as my friend Gareth Roberts likes to say, the things that suck the awesome out of you. So potential, I'm just throwing a few at you. Potential energy sucks might be administration, might be paperwork. Sometimes maybe it's team nights. Maybe it's some of the people you have on your team like, oh, I've got to do team night. So ask yourself, like when you identify these energy sucks, ask yourself, what can I delegate? What can I automate? And what can I eliminate? Okay? Delegate, automate, eliminate. Let me unpack those three real quick for you. So delegate, we got to watch out here because the mistake too many times that I see is you'll delegate something and then take your eye off the ball and then the ball gets dropped. That is not how to properly delegate. There's a term in the US military of expect and inspect. You have to walk through the expectations and then you have to take the time to follow up and make sure that those expectations are being met. Expect and inspect. Right? So if done right, we can outsource some heavy lifting. So what can you delegate? What can you automate? So a great question we can all ask ourselves right now is like, how can we use AI to automate tasks? This really should be a popular question. I'm at Keys to Success, and I'm asking everybody I know. I'm asking Sebastian. He's got a very interesting take on AI and how he's using it and where he thinks this is going. But I'll just throw you guys a real interesting one. And maybe you guys already know this because maybe you were on the hunt like I was at Keys to Success in Houston. But I asked Andy Bruinger. I figured Andy, he's kind of a cutting edge guy. He's probably been asking himself this question. And so he has 6 bots recruiting for him right now. 6 bots. So pick your accent. He says to me, he asked me that, Jane, pick your accent. I'm like, I don't know, how about an English girl in her like mid-20s? Okay, great. Let's role play. Let's get on the phone with one of my bots. So I'm talking to one of the bots, expecting this thing to be, you're talking to a robot. You're expecting this thing to be very choppy. I was surprised It almost sounded like I'm talking to somebody overseas because there was just a slight delay as I'm communicating with this bot. But go to find out that these 6 bots can make 1,800 calls per second, 1,800 phone calls per second, and it costs him 20 cents per minute that they're on the phone with a candidate. So we got to be thinking of AI and some of the things that we can use AI to automate our lives. So just some food for thought. If I'm a recruiter right now, I'm thinking about, okay, well, I want some bots working for me. My job's not going to get eliminated. Somebody's got to manage these bots. That's how I'd be looking at it as a recruiter. But let me outsource some of the heavy lifting to the bots, and I'm going to manage the bots for the owner and tell them how much money he's saving, yada, yada, yada. Yes, but I'd be totally looking into these bots. And then eliminate. What don't I need to do any longer? It's a good question that we should always ask ourselves. An example I always like to use is, hey, Grandma, why do we have the tradition of always cutting off the ends of the ham in our family? And Grandma says, I don't know why you and your mother do it. I used to do it because our ovens were small. Oh, maybe we shouldn't cut off the ends of the ham. But what can I eliminate? What can I stop doing? Right? But avoid those. First of all, identify the energy sucks. They will kill your longevity. Okay? And then delegate, automate, eliminate. And then number 4, stress management. What are your outlets for stress? I don't think we can live life without going through stress. So you're going to go through stress. It's going to happen. So before it happens, it's great to identify, like, okay, when stress happens, because right now I'm not feeling it. It's a great time to make a good decision when you're not actually in a stressful moment. So then the question while you're feeling good is, well, when stress comes, because the forecast calls for pain, it always does, how am I going to deal with stress? And so there are some very destructive ways of dealing with stress. Like some outlets lead to burnout. Alcohol, drugs, self-indulgence. And there's other outlets that add fuel to the tank. Like personally, when I had to think this through, I'm like, the best place for me to deal with stress, I'm going to take stress out on the treadmill. Me and you, treadmill, back alley right now. Let's do it. We're going to fight. We're going to have a fight. And I have successfully broken a handful of treadmills in my time. Now, I'm 225 pounds, so these treadmills are like, please, no more. More. I'm going to stomp. I'm just beating on these treadmills, right? And then when I'm working out, I'm like, oh, gee, I can add a good podcast. I can add a good book on Audible. This thing just got released on Audible not so long ago, right? So shameless plug, right? Well, it's not. I listen to books, right? And so, lost my notes for a second. There we go. So I'm working out. I'm beating up the treadmill. I just won the battle on the treadmill, and I'm always setting goals on the treadmill and weird stuff like that. And then I'm listening to good podcasts. And, it's funny, when you go do that kind of stuff, you feel like a rock star. You're dealing with stress in business, I get it. But on the treadmill with the earbuds in, you are a freaking rock star. And so now, can I take that good feeling that I have, can I take that positive momentum and bring it into my work environment? And the answer is yes. I want to carry that good feeling back into my business. I want to let that positive momentum positively affect other compartments of my life. But the question always comes down to, how are you dealing with stress? Make that decision on the front end when you're feeling good about it, but find a productive way of dealing with stress. I mean, if it really is productive, you actually look forward to stress. Your date with the gym and the earpods. Like I have certain podcasts that I only listen to at the gym. It makes me want to go to the gym more. So I can get that podcast because that was really good. I want to continue where I left off, but I made a commitment to myself. I only listen to that on the treadmill, so I want to go do it. So when stress happens, I'm actually kind of excited about it. And then the 5th thing and the last thing I have for you is be clear on what's important. Here's a quote from John Maxwell. Nothing separates successful people from unsuccessful people more than how they use their time. So I put this in the book. I found this really interesting when I came across this. The word priority, because we always talk about priority management a lot. But the word priority entered the English language in the 1400s, Latin origin, 1400s. And of course, we all know, Latin origin, priority, prior, former, first, right? It was a singular word until the 1900s. And then our culture pluralized this word for the first time after the industrial boom in the late 1800s. So for the first time, the word priorities entered our language, which it never was before. And so now we have multiple firsts. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. We have multiple firsts. Like, isn't there only one first? And so it might be difficult, right? So I think about this a good amount. Like, what's the one thing I want to accomplish this week? So it might be difficult to bring the word back to a singular first and ask ourselves, what's the priority for the week? That might be hard to do. And I find it okay to have a bunch of tasks scheduled for the week. But I suggest that we identify the monster wins for the week. Like, what are the one or two monster wins that I must accomplish this week? Tony Robbins says that the two most powerful words in the English language are I must. It's like interesting when he says like the two most powerful words in English language, I must. And so we need to eliminate should. Well, I should go in the field. I should train the new guy. I should come in a little bit early. I should work on my off day. And the next thing you know, you're just shoulding all over the place. That's good. So replace your should with must, but clearly identify what your most important priorities, if you can nail it as a priority, what are the most important things to accomplish for the week? So those are my 5 tips that I have for you guys really on how to run long and how to run fast, because I don't want to compromise either. I don't want to run slow, but I ran a marathon in 7 hours. Nobody really cares. If you're running an ultra marathon, anybody have any friends running ultra marathons right now? So I have a friend it's 100 miles. And now they're upping it because, there's too many people doing 100-mile races. Now they're 240-mile races that you got to run. But if you run an ultra marathon it takes you more than 24 hours, they don't even record your name that you even ran the race. So it's got to be 24 hours or less, and then your name gets documented. But anything after 24 hours, nobody cares. So you got to run fast and you got to run long.